Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. And today is part 2 of trying traditional animation. I did kind of hint that there might be a part 2, and so here we are. And yeah, basically what we're doing today is just, drawing a background, as you can see me doing here. Basically have a background and then also like color in the frames that I drew last time, and then I guess we'll see where we'll go from there. I mean, obviously I think, or I would want to continue this, and so probably it's just gonna be, adding new frames or maybe adding a different background. But yeah, what I was trying to go for here with the background was basically like a nice little sky, but I don't know if the colors translate it as well, if it actually looks like clouds. I was trying to, see what other animated movies, like what the sky looks like there and the clouds. I definitely need to work on that, I think, but it's kind of ironic how originally it actually looks better before I color in the clouds, basically like add the shadows, but we're just gonna deal with that. And yeah, also this time around, I'll be going with a slightly different approach in terms of the animation, because in the first video I basically just tacked, like basically like pinned all of the frames of the paper together, stapled. There we go. My brain works. Who would have thought? But yeah, basically I stapled them together and then sort of like a flip book or something, basically try to get in the movement. But today I will simply take advantage of my software, because if anything, like for example this little Ardenard that is always in frame talking to you guys as me, I mean, it's basically the same thing. It's obviously not as elaborate of an animation, but it basically works just the same. You just have different frames, which, I mean, it would be in different like speed, but that's basically what I'm gonna try today, that instead of having, like a flip chart, well, not flip chart, oh my god, like flip them through, instead I'm just gonna take individual pictures of each frame, and then through my software I'll basically try to make it look like a little animated movie. And we also have a background, and I'm really interested to see how it will look like, because already just coloring in the frames, it looks a little bit more brought to life almost, like it's really sweet. And I realized like how technically animation is quite simple, especially if you have like a simple character, because for example with coloring it's just rinse and repeat, right? And once you have one, like, what your character looks like, for example with my little dragon, like the wings and the eyes or whatever, and you keep it consistent, it's basically just going through a few different, like, I guess, poses or motions. And with coloring, you just do the same thing over and over again, and then you can just put whatever background, I guess, which, I mean, that's more like a simple version, of course. If you want it to look more realistic and elaborate, having just a still frame as a background, like I'm drawing here, right? It's not moving, it's just one background with clouds. But I mean, I did this kind of on purpose because I feel like, it's kind of like reminiscent of the original, like old animated movies, like old Disney movies, where I originally thought I was gonna do this as well, where instead of using regular pencil like I'm doing here, that I was gonna use, like, for example, something like watercolor, or like where it looks just different. When you watch like these old Disney movies, for example, like, I don't know, thinking of like the classics, like all of like the Disney princess movies, for example, like a Snow White or something. I remember when I watched it as a child, like you can tell like when she's in the forest that most of the forest is obviously not like moving, or not the outline. You can tell that it's almost like different from what is actually going on, from like, for example, like Snow White, or even let's say you have like these tree trunks who are grabbing her. They sort of stand out and are like almost drawn in a different style or with a different material, right? And so I do think it's kind of interesting that you have sort of this still almost like a painting. You basically have a painting in the background, and then every other movement is basically just put on top or like digitalized, kind of, where you have sort of these stronger outlines, and that's where basically the movement and the action is happening. The background isn't actually like moving, or there's not really anything going on. It's just still. So I guess I'm being kind of accurate here. Or maybe it's just laziness, who knows. But yeah, here you can see me trying, really like emphasis on trying to add some dimension with the clouds. It kind of looks really weird when I look at it now, but it's fine. Should have just gone with a regular blue probably, but I was like, no, I want like a fancy like sunset kind of sky or whatever. So it's purple. But I mean, I guess it's like our character's a dragon, so maybe it's a magical word. Who knows? I don't know yet. Which I guess is also what I'm gonna address. Like, I, for now, haven't really got like I guess not really like a storyboard, but like an idea for like a storyline, or it's just a cute little dragon. And I guess what will become of him is a problem of future me when I'm gonna continue this, I guess, series. I don't know how far it will go. Maybe I'll just make a little short, or like a short movie out of it, perhaps. But yeah, very, very cute, I have to say. And also, I realized this when I did it yesterday, like it was so relaxing and it didn't feel like a lot of effort. It's just like, okay, draw a background, it's really nice. And then basically it's like a coloring book, right? Like you literally color in these little frames, these little pictures. So basically I feel like the biggest part is actually to draw the frames, the outlines. Like I think that's where most of the effort and the thinking goes into, because if you've seen my last video, you might remember how I struggled a little bit with left and right and movement, and you're gonna see that basically like the little dragon sneezes, and then from like, I guess, whiplash from sneezing, he gets like pushed into the left side. And yeah, I kind of struggled how to do that with paper because I kind of also did like copy and paste. Like I basically tried to use the frame before to basically draw the dragon exactly the same proportions, and taking advantage of that. But then I messed up a little bit, but I worked it out. And yeah, my voice is struggling a little bit, but I have 2 cups of tea waiting for me once this voiceover is done. So that's nice. And yeah, you can see me again trying to add a little bit more of shadow and dimension. It looks really funny. And I feel like it looks better with just a white, but who knows? Maybe I'll have the same effect again, where if I watch my footage back, it looks better on the footage than it did in real life to me. Who knows? But here I'm basically trying to create sort of like the dark spots or like shadows of clouds, because as we all know, clouds are not just plain white in terms of when we are looking at them, because obviously depending on how, I guess, dense or thick a cloud is, you can see through a little bit of the sky. And so it might be sometimes quote unquote darker / the blue of the sky is looking through a little bit more, but I don't know. It didn't really work out. I don't think I understand the science behind clouds and their shading, I guess. It looks really weird, but well. Maybe next time I'll learn or just add a different background perhaps. Another thing that I actually start with is with the paper. This is a regular like A4, right, format. And the thing about the translucent paper sheets that I use for the, animated, for each like frame of the dragon, right? They are, I don't know what kind of format. It's like a very special, unique format, and it's not A4. It's barely not A4. It's slightly bigger, and I think longer as well. Like in terms of like the length, and I think it's because like I got there. First of all, they're very old. Maybe, yeah, just not the newest, and I just stole them, quote unquote, from home because nobody was using them. And they're from the time when my dad used to study and, like, well, was at school. And they basically, it's kind of like, not engineering, but, designing, for example, machinery, right? And then you also need some sketches, or like, let's say, I could imagine like architects also used those types of paper, right, back in the day, but it's a very different format. So that was really interesting. When I was laying the frames on top of the background, I was like, how do I know that it's always in the exact same place? Because it's not one to one. And so with my eyeballs, I tried to sort of measure, like, try to get it accurately, like that's kind of like centered, or like at least, at the very least, that the frames are always like at the same place, that the dragon is always at the same place, and everything works out in terms of the animation. But the great thing is, if it doesn't, I'm just gonna use my software and like cut off the right parts and zoom in or whatever to try and make it work. But yeah, we are truly taking our time with this background just for it not to look really great. I thought about cutting out some of the footage, but I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm gonna keep it, or maybe it looks weird when you have like random cuts in between. But yeah, ironically enough, most of this video is me like drawing the background, but luckily for you, I did cut out most of the parts where I color in the frames, because it's just coloring in. Like, it's nothing special. It's literally just taking pencils and coloring in the frames that I did last time. So most of them I just show, the last few seconds, so this video isn't longer than it already is. But yeah. Also, you can perfectly see my new nail set if, haven't seen my last video. That is my newest nail set. I enjoy it very much. It's an interesting color combination for me, very daring. But let us not be distracted. And yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, I had a reference picture, like multiple reference pictures. But yeah. If you hear a little child crying in the background, that's like my neighbors. Don't be worried. It's just kids being kids. But anyway, yeah, you can see me here. I think I'm basically finishing it up. I think there's only like one cloud after that is left, and then we're finally finished. It looks really weird. Maybe the purple is too dark. I don't know. And also, as a fun information for you guys, when I was doing this video, it just shows like so weird, because obviously on the video it looks like, oh, it's day, it's light out, whatever, and it was, sure, but my window is facing to the east side. So basically, considering that most of my videos are filmed in the afternoon, I don't get direct sunlight during that time. And even though it looks like light to you guys, I barely could see anything, and I barely could see the colors and the shading. But I was like, oh, but it looks good on camera, so I guess whatever. But ultimately, still, sooner or later, the sun will be gone, which is why here you can see for the animated frames, I turned on my light because I literally couldn't see anything anymore. Even though on the camera it looks really great, like it looks like it's bright outside. I didn't have to turn any lights on, but I barely could see what I was even doing. And my eyes pretty much hurt, was like, no, I don't want to ruin it. But then I guess, quote unquote, caved, because it ultimately did become a little bit darker. And so here you can see me drawing in each frame. I'm basically just using this green color, one light green for basically the entire dragon, then a dark green for like the scales, and then a white, because one thing that I didn't think of, which also happens to me quite a few times when I do digital drawing as well, is just because your background is white doesn't mean, for example, the eyes, like, the white of the eyes is white. I have encountered this problem quite a few times that, for example, I think with one of my character designs, or even with art and art, or I don't know, with like one, or was it like, yeah, definitely one of my like original characters that you can also see like on my YouTube channel. I think I also like thought, oh, you just leave the eyes white, right? And then you remove the background color when it reveals like, those like white and gray squares, right? So it's basically see-through. And then I see it, I'm like, oh, it's not white. I need to actually color it in white in order to, work. And I encountered a similar problem here because, as you can tell, the background in our case is anything but white, maybe with a little bit of the clouds, but it's very colorful. And his eyes would probably look really weird if I didn't color them in white. So don't forget about that, because I almost did, but I mean, worst case scenario, you just color it in later, so the world doesn't end. And here you can see me just oh my god, dear voice, please stay with me. But here you can see me just going over with a black pen to make it basically look a little bit better, because I felt like the contrast wasn't great enough. I think, again, I probably just should have left the background a little bit lighter, like with the purple and everything, because it turned out pretty dark, I guess, which made it harder for that light green to, come through, if you will, to still look as bright and as green. And yeah, it's basically just a rinse and repeat process. Don't worry, just shortly I will cut them very quickly, and you're just going to see the last few seconds of each frame being drawn in, because I would assume that it's pretty boring, but let me know if you think otherwise. And yeah, this was actually really fun and therapeutic, I guess, like a coloring book. And yeah, maybe you can even see the slight size difference of the translucent paper. But for me, I don't have much of the paper left anyways, so in the future I'm gonna just get a new set of translucent paper from Amazon, and then it's gonna be in A4 format, and we'll no longer have these issues. And yeah, very cutesy. And I guess you can kind of like, I have to shamefully say, see my, I guess, box of just any kind of pencil and pen peek in, you have literally, like, you can see, like, it's pure chaos, even though you only see a tiniest bit of it. You can tell it's chaos, which already, you know, lets you know. you can assume what the rest of the box looks like. It's just literally just chaos. Like, literally with any other colors, like paints, everything's organized, everything's nice. My nail gel, like my gel polish, is like wonderful, but my regular pencils, like coloring pencils, they are struggling. They're not, it's just, I think, again, just something that I took from home, and it's just pure chaos, like a little bit of everything, and barely, like, you have maybe like 3 color pencils from this brand, and then you have 10 from this brand, and then you've just a 1 white pencil which is struggling for its existence, and then you have 1 like t-shirt marker, like, you know, like a fabric marker. It's just yeah, but hey, at least, you know, like this black pencil, like liner, that comes from a proper set and is organized. At least that one thing, right? At least 1 pro. But yeah, here you can see, you know, the frame I was talking about earlier, you know, where he gets pushed to the left because he's sneezing so hard, and then also spits a little bit of fire as a consequence as well. And yeah, I originally kind of forgot, like, with this frame, with the frame afterwards, which literally like just flames. I kind of forgot about that frame, and also I feel like I didn't do it very well, because you're gonna see, like, especially when you take a look at this current frame and then compared to the size of the next frame, like the flames and also the placement, it's kind of off. But yeah, I guess that's what they call, you know, fix it in post-production, because that's definitely what I'm gonna do. And yeah, I think, are we on to like the second to last frame? We're almost done. Look at that. Oh my god. We are basically finished. Oh my goodness. Can you believe it? This video was so long. But yeah, hope you'll enjoy the little animation that I'm gonna put here, and see you in next time's video. Goodbye.